All right, guys, we got the crypto homie. We got Trader Anonymous. You guys should
Yeah.
check out his channel. If you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, so my name's Toby, Traders Anonymous. Break down cryptocurrencies, Forex, stocks. So, yeah.
Cool, man. So, what brought you into the space with crypto and Forex and stocks?
Basically, what I was trying to figure out is how the monetary system works. That kind of got me interested in trying to learn how to not necessarily work for money. And I got in at the bottom of the bear market. So all I know is down. All I know is red. So now that I learned market cycles, I think that it's a good time to get in, especially if you got in after the crash. And I think learning TA across all market classes can help you in this market particularly.
So you'd say you got in somewhere down here when Bitcoin was like 4K, 3K.
Yeah. Got in
That,
Ethereum right at the bottom.
I mean, at what, $80 if I remember correctly?
Yeah.
Bro, that's perfect.
I thought it was beginner's luck, honestly. I thought it was beginner's luck.
I mean, that's literally, I bought my first Bitcoin at $12,000 back in December. It was like the second week of December 2019.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, I had to wait it was like 10 days because I made an account on Coinbase. They were so backed up on making new accounts. And then with setting up the bank account, it took forever.
Yeah.
I wanted to buy XRP when it was at 20 cents, but I couldn't buy it until it was at $1 because of the time it took. I was so mad.
Jeez. Yeah. Hopefully I think the on ramps and the off ramps, this market cycle should be pretty a lot more effective.
Definitely. And I mean, I haven't said this on my channel, but I need to. Everybody needs to have 5 or more exchanges because you just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. One might go down, one might stay. Yeah. A lot can happen. Heard horror stories,
Yeah. So what's your top picks? What's the latest and greatest in the crypto space for you?
For me, I got in. My favorite pick is VeChain. All right. So top 3 is VeChain, Zilliqa, and Cardano. Those are the 3 kind of altcoins that I'm looking at.
Cool.
Particularly VeChain. I like VeChain because it has to do with supply chain management. I think that's the future. But in terms of Cardano, I like what Charles Hoskinson is doing with the project, and ultimately, I think that's also another long-term bullish project. And I like the fact that just where they were from a technical perspective, not only were they fundamentally sound, but I think maybe 3 months ago they were all barely even, no one was really buying them. There weren't a lot of bids for them. I think Cardano was at 4 cents, 5 cents, and then
yeah, it was.
Yeah, so I was like, yeah, that's a steal. I was just looking at the chart and I was like, yeah, that's a steal. I might as well buy that, and it just went parabolic. VeChain and Zilliqa. So I got crazy gains just during this summer alone. I got crazy gains. Except for this most recent dump. That was unfortunate.
But I mean, this is it's why they have the term called HODL. This is just part of the cycle. I mean, in my opinion, we're in the early stages of a bull run.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's your opinion about the overall market.
Yeah, honestly, what I'm seeing is that we're back testing critical support and resistance. So I was looking at the total cryptocurrency market cap and the altcoin market cap. So and where we're testing, where we're testing is key. We're still bullish. There's nothing, even if we right now, if we drop again, there's nothing to be worried about until we go back to 100 billion or something crazy, right? I think other than that, we're still bullish. We broke out of key resistance.
Yeah, I guess if we pull up the weekly, it'll be easier to see.
Yeah, I think that weekly chart looks pretty good. Yeah.
And I kind of just drew some where I thought the heavy resistance and support was, which I mean, it can move slightly, but
it's relative. This is a nice area.
Yeah. It's not 100% exact, but just like you said, it's relative. Yeah, once we break around 220, 230, I think that's going to be. I mean, I think portfolios will go up so high.
Yeah, and what I'm thinking is going to happen right now. I think we're really just back to, even if we do get another so we could have a weekly candle where we break below that little pink line and scare some people out, and then it'll be like a wick.
So right here.
Yeah.
Just wick down. Yeah. Yeah.
Wick down, scare people, and then spike up. But if we do break below there and close below there, okay, that's when I'm like, all right, we might see some more downside. But until it happens, there's no reason to be like bearish at all.
You know, like I think that kind of opinion though, where you can change your mind so fast, people are like, how can you change your mind? It's like, we're looking at the chart. We're not just saying one day, oh, we're going to the moon, next day we're not. You know, we're just
all based on like chart. And even if we do come back, say we come back a little bit, we're still like, it's not the end of the world. Like the market is still, I still have a long-term bullish bias, regardless of what the price does. And honestly, I think that, so since I trade foreign exchange and like cryptocurrencies, I look at the dollar currency index a lot. And I notice that whenever the dollar typically goes up, you'll see cryptocurrencies, stocks, and gold go down. So if the dollar spikes up, well, I mean, the stock market will crash, cryptocurrencies would crash. But I feel like there's a Federal Reserve statement coming out tomorrow morning, and I'm gonna listen to that. But that has to do with how they're gonna change their vocabulary for inflation. And if people hear the wrong type of language, they're gonna probably think that might be bullish for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies.
Hey, you just never know, right? Like the way the Fed's working, all that great stuff.
Yeah,
just don't know.
You never know what they're gonna do. They could either honestly just say, you know what, because the stock market is like obviously a bubble. That's obviously everyone can see that, but it doesn't mean it has to pop. They could keep pushing it up, literally.
Yeah, it just seems that the U.S. dollar is becoming worth less, so everything else has to be worth more, since it's going to take more dollars to have the same value.
Yeah, the same value. And it basically what's going on with the economy, like, so basically what I'm thinking, I think I said in my last video, we're in a scenario where the economy is either going to completely collapse and you need to be worried about like civil unrest and like whether or not you have food and stuff, where it's going to get crazy, or we're going to have hyperinflation. Like, because if the stock market collapses, everything's going with the stock market. Everything. Like, if they don't just support it, like, you're going to see, because like, you know how people were rioting on the streets and all that stuff?
Yeah.
The stock market was going up then. Could you imagine if the stock market was Dow Jones down 5,000 points?
Yeah, no, that would not be great.
That would not be great. Exactly. So we wouldn't want, I think that they would probably want to manipulate it so it's not as panicky and the environment isn't bad, but it's at the expense of the US dollar. So that would be good for cryptocurrencies.
But what's interesting about the US dollar, like they just keep printing more and they print more, and somehow, the stock market keeps rising, but it is the global reserve currency. So in a way, other countries owe us more. It's kind of like we get paid because other countries owe us. It's very complicated and confusing, but it's interesting how it's basically a pyramid scheme, like how it all works.
Yeah, it's literally a pyramid scheme. It's called there's something called euro dollars. So there's basically all the offshore dollars so it's basically the US dollar denominated debt in other countries, and they need dollars, right? So there's always a demand for dollars. So basically they could print so much money to the point where all these other countries are just dependent on it, because we're the world reserve currency. There's so much debt denominated in US dollars where it makes our system kind of like not as effective as it should be, if that makes sense. It's kind of complicated, but
it definitely gets complicated. But since we are the global reserve, I guess I can bring up the topic of, have you heard of China working behind the scenes of trying to make their own like global like reserve currency take over?
Did you see the article? I think it was on Coin Telegram. I think some of my friends sent it to me. It was they have the digital renminbi or whatever. Yeah. I think that's what we're headed towards. I think that's something we're going to do, something similar to that for sure. And I think that might be bullish for cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, as I know, I'm not sure if you know Anthony Pompliano.
Yeah, Pomp. Yeah.
Pomp. He said it before on, it was like CNBC or Fast Money or something like that. He said every fiat currency will become digitalized because they have no choice. They have to compete with the digital like currencies right now.
Yeah.
So that'll bring everybody in. We'll all have to have these wallets. I did see some news about that. I forget. I think it was today at lunch at work. I saw something about how they're going to be making all digital US dollar wallets and everything, so that gets the average Joe in. And then I feel like they're going to be like, what's the point of having this currency that stays $1? It's not moving when you go on Bitcoin or
Chainlink or anything. Yeah. Or we're going to see all these other currencies, or even still, like, what's the point of getting the US dollar if I could just get maybe another stable coin, or, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Exactly.
It literally just brings so many people to the crypto world and so much more liquidity.
Yeah, I've been dabbling with Facebook groups. Like I didn't do that. I'm not really much of a Facebook person, but I've been just checking out this crypto groups. Oh my, people dropping 80K on these pumps. Like when OMG went to like $10, they're dropping like 80K on it. I was sitting there like, I hope they're just trying to brag because that's not good.
Yeah, that's not good. I wish he probably saw my signal before when it was consolidating, because that's the best time to put 80K. It would have made like 400,000, something like that.
Yeah.
And that's not. I feel like I feel like when we do get to that point, this is why I stress TA so much. This is why I stress like the market can go down and up, because if we do go back, if we do start to go up like that, I don't want to have people. I don't want to have the horror stories. I don't want to have people telling me, "Oh my gosh, I bought in at the top and we got to pull back." No, 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 no. You need to learn TA because the markets pull back. You need to know when something is. I shouldn't buy that. I need to step back.
Yeah, but unfortunately, it's like you said before we started recording, the human psychology is not like that. It's basically the buy high and sell low instead of buy low and sell high.
Buy low and sell high. Yeah, buy. It's literally buy. You need to sell greed and buy fear. So like I said with the scam wick, if we do fall below, everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, we're going back to March lows," and then that's when it would probably go back up if it would go back up.
Yeah. I mean, personally, buying any time around this area where we're at, I think is great because I mean, I'm not an expert at TA, but all I know is that the odds are, yes, like you said, we probably will have a wick below here, but then we're going to bounce back. And I think we'll bounce back hard
Yeah.
because I'm not sure if you saw Willie Woo's like analysis on the Bitcoin price.
Yeah.
He was just saying basically, I don't think we're going to fill the gap with like the CME gap. And even if we do, it's going to be a wick, just kind of like you said, it's going to bounce down and snap right back up because there's so many buy orders in right now.
Sitting there. Yeah. And I honestly believe the fundamentals are, even if we do crash, like I feel like a lot of people are gonna be scared, but I feel like I don't care about the price because I'm ultimately bearish on the US dollar. I think it's gonna lose its value over time. So it's like I'd much rather just hold, like honestly, I would say, would you rather hold Chainlink for would you rather hold a US dollar or one Chainlink? I'd rather hold Chainlink. I'd rather just, because I believe Chainlink's value is going to go up over time as opposed to holding the US dollar. It's going to go down in value over time.
That's a different like perspective that I don't think many people think about. I mean, I completely agree with you, but I just don't think many people, even crypto investors and the new people, they don't even consider, like they don't understand how the US dollar works.
Yeah, they don't understand that. Basically, I feel like you want to be buying it because you want to be. I feel like they want to make money, but like everyone obviously want to make money, but like if the dollar is losing its value, it's like I might as well go into something that's going to gain value over time. I believe it's going to be valuable. Like it's basically the opposite of trying to make money. It's trying to buy money because we're basically buying currency. So it's like I'd much rather hold on to Chainlink than Mexican peso. you know?
Yeah, I mean, and that's probably where this, because you said you traded Forex before crypto.
Yeah, Forex and stocks and all that.
Yeah, like this stuff probably just is like second nature. You're just like, oh, it's just like buying, like you said, euro, peso, or yen or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Cool.
And that's a lot. I think that's if people look at it from that perspective, like yeah, it's a young market, but obviously, I mean, it's a decade old. We've had foreign exchange, we've had the stock market for tens of thousands, or not tens of thousands. We've had for hundreds of years, basically. We've had these markets where we exchange currencies, and it's like this is a decade old one, you know. So you like, why? There's nothing to. People are going to get impatient, but it's obviously going to go up and down. But I believe long term the trend is up, so you can just literally hodl and not have to worry about it.
Yeah, HODL.
Yeah,
Just hodl.
hodl for deal, literally. I think that's the best. So what do you think? What do you think probably going to happen probably in the next, like in terms of election? Like what do you think is going to happen in terms of the markets?
That's like the whole election really puts like a big twist on things because it's like depending on what happens, and then it just depends how the market is. The market already priced in for it? Are we waiting for it to get priced in? I don't know. I mean, it
Yeah, that's
it's
what I'm
kind of like
saying.
what you said earlier. That like the S&P 500 is correlated with Bitcoin. Bitcoin has such a low market cap. I mean, crypto in general, it's so low. What 300 and some billion compared to the stock market, which is what close to 10 trillion. So
A
you can't
trillion.
even compare Like, of course it's going to correlate. Eventually we will deviate and we'll be our own market and it won't matter. But until then, if the stock market crashes, well, our portfolios are going down short term.
Yeah.
The key word is short term.
Short term.
So I look at it like this. If we crash, that's a buying opportunity. I like the dollar cost average. So
yeah,
like for me, it's great. I know for some people, they put everything in right now. They have all their eggs in one or two baskets, and they're going to be scared. They're going to be selling because they're
scared.
Be
selling. Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, I would love to say Bitcoin's going to hit 100K at the end of this year, but I also know it might not. So, and with the election, like you said, there's so many factors
that could happen to play out. What I'm trying to get some of my subscribers to understand, some of my friends to understand is like, we're probably going to experience extreme volatility, and you need to be ready, whether it's down or up. Like you need to have a plan. Like I'm willing to hold down 90%, or I'm willing to not sell up 100 because people are going to sell up 100%. And it's like, you just need to be able to hold.
Yeah, dude, I mean, like the whole holding thing though, I definitely have problems with that. In 2017, I bought something for 300. I put $300 into his token. It was worth $3,300. Okay, so I turned $300 into $3,300. I mean, that sounds like crazy good, right? Yeah. But I'm sitting at my computer, like, no, I'm not going to sell. And it had liquidity, so I could have sold. Oh, it's going to hit $10 per token, so I'm going to double my money to like 7K. And now it's worth $100. So I guess it's and keep in mind, I was like very fresh new into investing, so I was complete noob, didn't know what I was doing at all. But, so like it's finding that happy medium, like because with crypto you don't want to take a profit at 100% because we know these things can go thousands. So
and that's the whole point of reading TA. That's the whole point of learning technicals. Like what I find is interesting is, especially what got me into the market, like while it was at the bottom, is like I was looking at the risk reward, right? So if I'm getting in at the bottom and the all-time high is, all right, if I'm buying something at $100 and the all-time high is 1,300, why wouldn't I buy that? It's just like me. I was like, oh, I might as well buy it. Like, and then it just so happened to shoot up like the next month, and I was like, okay, bet. But in terms of that, I had a target. I could see where price was gonna go. Like I have the all-time high, but once we break all-time highs, you won't know when to sell, how high price is going to go. You're just going to be kind of in the dark.
Yeah. And actually, like, I kind of like to ask you what is your selling strategy? Like once let's say Bitcoin hits, 30K, when do you plan on selling? Like with Cardano, you mentioned it earlier, you got in pretty low, like 4 cents, and the all-time high was $1.20. It's not on this chart, but it was around $1.20. And that was all hype. It was like a white paper and like, hey guys, we're going to do this. This is Charles Hoskinson, blah, 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 blah. Now they have their own like blockchain. They were like working on DeFi. So I think hitting $5, $10, $15, $20, even higher than that is completely realistic based off of the real use case and the utility.
Yeah. And what I'm thinking of selling is probably, I think what might happen is, cause these market cycles, I saw something where based on the log chart, the market cycles kind of get a little bit longer as we start to mature in the market. So I think the last one was like a year long. But what interested me is that when I looked at Bitcoin's chart and I put it on the dollar currency index, and like, okay, so see in 2017, right? So go to March 2017. The second we hit March 2017 on the dollar currency index, you'll see that the dollar goes into a bear market for a year.
Oh.
Like it just starts dropping. I think it lost like 10%, 15% in a year. But most people don't know there's a correlation between the dollar and like Bitcoin and asset prices. So the second the dollar recovered, we tanked. So I'm just going to be looking at the dollar to see where we could see reversals in the dollar. And then I'll be like, okay, that's probably where I should take profit. If we're at like a monthly support level where the dollar could bounce up, we'll probably see like a 30, 50% correction. And I'll be like, okay, before we hit that level, I'm probably going to take some profits.
That's something I did not keep in mind. I was looking at those charts on lookintobitcoin.com. I'm not sure if you checked out some of those charts. They have some interesting ones like, here, if I pull it up real quick.
With the log charts?
Yeah, like the Plan B chart. I pulled up on this computer, but I'm still waiting for a new mic and everything to hook up with all my new computer.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty slow on this one. But like if you look at the 2-year moving average multiplier, I'm looking at Bitcoin.com, stuff like that, the stock to flow. There's some interesting ones. The 1-year hodl wave. I've mentioned a couple on my channel, but I was looking at those to take profit as well as like if you looked at the squeeze momentum, I was always checking that out. But it seems kind of delayed. Like I don't know exactly what to go by.
Yeah, I was kind of looking at one. I kind of want to do it with time because I'm pretty sure taxes. There's something to do with like I think if you hold it for a year and a day, it's a tax break. So taxes you have to take that into consideration. But I was looking at let's stock to flow and that.
Yeah, let's just see if I can get that to load in the background while we keep talking. But yeah, no, if you live in America, for capital gains, less than 365 days is a higher tax rate. So there's an incentive
to hold. Yeah. But you don't want to hold and then the market pulls December or January 2018 just starts tanking. You're probably going to be pretty mad.
Yeah. It's I mean, I've held throughout the bear market. I'm not really a trader. I figure it just takes too much brain juice. I'd rather just dollar cost average in, and that's kind of what I did throughout the bear market. So,
I feel like that's perfect. As long as I don't really. Oh yeah, let me look at the.
There was a stock. This was the 2-year moving average multiplier, which I thought it kind of tells you exactly when to sell, for the most part. Is this like? Can you see this good?
Yeah, I see it.
Cool. So like, let's scroll down so we can see the green one is the 2-year moving average. The red one is the 2-year moving average times 5. So whenever we're above that, I mean, selling is fine.
Yeah, taking profit is so probably that would be Bitcoin around 30,000 if we hit that.
But I feel like that's too early though. And
yeah, I feel like it is too early to sell. I feel like then we would get a very deep pullback,
like back to 20K or maybe even 15, like 14K, because that's major resistance right now.
Yeah, I could see. Yeah, what I could see us doing is maybe hitting 21K, maybe breaking above it, or hitting 20K ish, and then maybe selling back down to 14K, 15K, and then flipping that resistance into support. And then just keep flipping the resistance into support. I think that would be interesting. Yeah,
and what's your opinion on do you ever plan on selling Bitcoin? Satoshis are so valuable. There's only going to be 21 million Bitcoin. Like, do you just plan on holding, or do you plan on or are you going to have a trade bag and a hodl bag?
Actually, I am going to have a trade bag and a hodl bag. But what actually has me confused is it really depends on what happens in the global economy, like the macro economy. Because if the dollar, if currencies, fiat currencies around the world keep getting devalued, I wouldn't honestly take a profit. Maybe put it into a stable coin. Other than that, I wouldn't take profit in a fiat currency, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah. I mean, unless you had to pay bills or something. I mean,
unless I had to pay. Yeah, but in terms of the bag, honestly, you really could just do the Warren Buffett approach and just act like they're going to close the market and then just sit on it for 10 years, come back, see what it looks like.
So what do you think? Because since you were more into stocks and Forex first, I've seen Coinbase has crypto-backed loans, and I know with equities you could get a loan based off of your equities. I'm not sure exactly how that works. I was thinking, wouldn't that be possible? You never sell, you just get a loan backed, I'm not sure the verb.
Yeah, you basically take a loan out on your crypto.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was also thinking about that because I think it's better to do that and kind of just, I was thinking about something similar to that, but it really would depend on how volatile the market is, where we're, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to be doing that right when the market's about to tank. I think the timing in that would be pretty crucial.
Yeah, I feel like once we establish trillions of dollars, let's say we go up to 7 trillion, we fall back down to 4 trillion, maybe then I would be willing to take a loan out because I'm not selling. So I'd be willing to have less capital available for a loan just because if it's less volatile.
Yeah, it'd be way less volatile. And what I'm thinking, I was listening, so I trade precious metals and stuff too. And I'm also bullish on gold and silver. And what I heard someone like expert talking about how gold and silver, their market cap compared to the total amount of money in like traditional investments is like 1%, right? Something
Yeah.
crazy. And if we have like a financial system like meltdown, you're going to see money trying to flow into asset classes that hold more, you can get a higher rate of return and they're more safe, or just a different home. They're going to be looking, they're going to get out of bonds, because we might have an insolvency crisis where nations become insolvent. So then their bonds and treasuries will become useless. So in that scenario, you would want, you'd want a different place to put your money. You could put it in gold and silver. And I feel like that might go into the cryptocurrency market as well. And we're so small that any sort of institutional money doesn't even need to be into Bitcoin. It just needs to be in the crypto space, like in general at all. That would just be extremely bullish, extremely bullish.
Have you heard of Jim Cramer?
Yeah, I think wasn't he on Pomp's show? I was gonna watch that.
Yeah. I just kind of did a little quick like summary of his video, because I mean it's like an hour and a half or whatever with Pomp, so it's but just kind of sum up the highlights here. It's definitely something to look into. He's willing to be like he's a like a gold guy, and he's willing to put
Yeah, he's a gold bug.
1% of his net worth into Bitcoin. 1%. I mean, he's been trading since the 90s, so he has to have a decent sized portfolio. Actually, that might be something quick Google, but he's willing to put 1% of it.
Yeah, and Paul Tudor Jones.
Yes, yeah, I think he did 1.5% because he has billions. So
I watched his documentary, and I was like, or not a documentary. I think it was a documentary, and I was like, this dude's a legend. He's a legend, and I was like, this is before I knew he was bullish on Bitcoin, and I was like, wait a minute, he's long Bitcoin, and he's the GOAT. Like he's the one of the GOATs, and that made me think like, yeah, I remember watching a video where he was like, I think he was trading the Dow Jones at all time high. He was just like, yeah, I just made like 2.5 million today, and I was like, what the heck? And he was like, he was on the top of his game, and now he's bullish on Bitcoin. He's 1% allocating his portfolio into Bitcoin. And Raul Paul.
It sounds familiar, yeah.
Like you ever seen Real Vision?
No.
Finance? Oh yeah, but so there's a Real Vision Finance, basically where they bring in all these investors like across the globe. It's basically just a financial education, and he's extremely smart. So do you know Peter Schiff, bearish on Bitcoin?
Yeah, yeah, of course.
He's like the complete opposite of Peter Schiff. He believes in the same things, but he says he's 50% Bitcoin, 50% portfolio, and he's extremely like if you listen to him, he's smart though. He's not like a crazy, he's not like a crazy Bitcoin bull. He actually has like a reason and a rationale behind why he's bullish on Bitcoin. And if he's bullish on Bitcoin, why aren't more, people getting into Bitcoin?
Oh yeah, I mean, that kind of sounds like Pomp, because Pomp says, "Do you believe in the new financial system or do you believe in the old? Like the legacy versus the new." So he's 50% in because of that.
Yeah, that's the whole reason why that's why when people like tell me I'm trying to take profits, it's like, all right, you might be taking profits. Things could change so drastically where it's like, you might not want to take profits back into US dollars. You might want to just say, hey, screw it. I'm gonna just keep my Bitcoin, hold my Bitcoin, or just convert all my altcoins into Bitcoin and just hold Bitcoin.
Yeah, it took me a while to get to the idea that I honestly, like right now, I don't care what the price of Bitcoin is in the US dollar. I'm all about consistently buying more Satoshis. I just want more Satoshis because I know long term it's going to work out.
Thinking about is looking at the Bitcoin priced in gold or gold priced in Bitcoin chart. I feel like that's something we should like people should start looking at more, because it's a fiat. We're looking at fiat currencies. Like eventually dollars are going to lose value, but over time gold has always been stable. So
yeah,
Bitcoin versus gold is a chart I'm going to be looking at, because ultimately, like in the future, I believe it's going to be how much gold do you have, how much Bitcoin do you have. It's not going to be how many dollars you have.
Yeah, at least not the US dollars.
Yeah, at least not the US dollars, unless they come out with a digital one. And I'm going to be curious on how that works. I saw they proposed it in a bill, the first stimulus bill. They proposed it, and I think they took it out or something like that.
Yeah, I saw something just today. I forget. I should probably afterwards. I'll check see if I retweeted it, but something where they're going to try to make digital wallets for everybody. Like all banks will be going digital. I mean, I already know that only 3% of the like money that's spent is actually in physical cash right now. So we already are basically all credit, which is essentially digital, but not the same as crypto if you think about it.
Yeah, it's not the same as crypto. It's completely. I think whatever they're gonna do is try and make. I think what China does is their digital currency is like complementary. It's like complementary to the actual so they have like two currencies basically, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, they also have a lot of gold. It sound from what I've heard, Russia and China are kind of working behind the scenes to take over the U.S. dollar.
They have a lot of gold.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
they both have a lot of gold. It's
they have a lot
crazy.
of gold, and that's what made me. I remember. No, it was a year ago. It was probably like November, and there's something called the repo market. It's basically where banks it gets complicated, but it's basically like a shadow banking system, and that thing like almost like crashed. And I saw the Federal Reserve started doing overnight operations, and I was like, that's when I started to look into like gold and stuff like that, and I noticed like Turkey and all these other countries were just stocking up on gold. I was like, what are they for? What? Like you don't just stock up on ounces and ounces of gold if you don't think anything is gonna eventually, if you don't think the value is going anywhere. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna
Oh,
accumulate something, especially countries, right? So we're just like people. We're individual people. We don't run entire countries. They know. They probably have a better idea of where things are headed than we do.
oh, definitely. Yeah, there's insiders. Yeah,
Yeah, they have people devoted to that all day. That just sit there and like, what's most probable to happen? Should we go gold? And what had me interesting with the U.S. dollars is Russia. You know when oil crashed?
yeah,
So when oil, I mean, I think no, oil crashed and it went negative. It was because Russia. I think Russia instigated it or something like that with Saudi Arabia, and they started pumping out oil. But what I realized was that a lot of the U.S. oil manufacturers, they're very indebted. So they basically run on debt. They went on a whole bunch of loans to start these companies, and the price of oil has to be at a specific level to be profitable. If that makes sense.
yeah,
So when oil crashed, it was like, what? What are these U.S. oil companies? Because they know that the U.S. is probably one of the leading producers in oil, and no other country can trade oil except for US dollars. So US dollars basically backed by oil. So what happens when you wipe out all the oil refineries? The US oil refineries, it's going to affect the value of the dollar long term. So I felt like Russia and China were like kind of planning that ahead of time. I feel like they knew, okay, it was the right time. So let's go ahead crash oil and see how that can affect the US oil manufacturers.
yeah. I mean, and they've been loading up for gold for what I heard for the past decade. So
Decade.
they're ready to make it happen. You know.
Mm-hmm. Ready, and China has like what? Don't they have like 60% of the miners, 70% of the miners?
Yeah, for Bitcoin, yeah, there's no exact amount, but it's around the 60 to 80%, which is kind of scary. I like when I hear big mine operations open it in at least in the Americas, South America, North America, whatever, because at least we have some more on this side of the world,
Yeah.
and not just in China.
You don't want it centralized.
Exactly, exactly.
But I feel like if they have that, honestly feel like China's bullish on Bitcoin.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I believe there's so many more stock market, CEOs and just investors in general, like big names that are like closet Bitcoin fans. Because right now it's taboo. It's if you now say you're into it, it can be career suicide. You just lost all credibility and you're done. So
Yeah, and I think over time, that's why I like when I tell people. I mean, everyone knows we're early, but I feel like still, once adoption, I feel like we're going to be in a scenario where adoption is almost forced, where it's like, it's either you have Bitcoin or you gold. It's either, there's no other option. Like people are going to be forced
yeah,
to,
I like. Unfortunately, I do agree with that. I think it sucks. It'll come to that point, but I mean, I mean,
yeah.
like we got $1,200. I think it was just hush money to have less riots.
Yeah.
So
And I think that's why I ultimately believe they're going to devalue the dollar, because I don't think that, I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think that they want the markets to crash. I don't think that because I feel like they know if people are rioting, if, let's say Trump gets reelected, there can be riots. If Trump loses, there are going to be riots.
It doesn't
So
matter what happens.
it doesn't matter what happens. So unless they want to add, fuel to the fire and not give out stimulus checks, not print out more money, I feel like they're going to want to accommodate to the chaos and try and maybe, settle people down, unless they want to just make things worse and not give out, money and not, try and support the market. Could you imagine a scenario where, let's just say Trump wins and it's like a very sketchy win, and then let's say you have people rioting, and then you got Black Lives Matter on the street because another person got killed, and then the stock market's down 5,000 points. I mean, it would be like a complete like movie.
Oh yeah, it was like it would be a disaster.
Yeah, unless they want that to happen. But I think that they're probably gonna try and make it a little bit, trying to hold everything up a little bit until we get there.
Yeah, I mean, and something that we're like we haven't mentioned it, but we're like right there. What do you think about universal basic income? I feel like this whole $1,200 and then an extra $600 for unemployment, that's kind of easing us into this universal basic income kind of lifestyle.
Yeah, I think we're headed there. I feel like it's almost inevitable. I feel like I feel like we're gonna be in a depression if we're not already in one, probably. So
Yeah.
I feel like there's gonna be a lot of there's a lot of people who are in situations where it's like they have no other option. They can't do anything else. Like they have to be completely dependent on the system. So it's like, I mean, for them, you can buy crypto in that scenario, but it's they're kind of like stuck. There's nothing else for them to do, and I feel like the government has made it's not the government's fault necessarily, but I feel like people are in situations where it's so bad where they have no other point but to depend on the government, and it's going to keep being, especially when this is a health crisis right now. When it turns into a financial crisis, that's when you're going to see more people lose their jobs, and that's when I think this consistent, stimulus, or this basically UBI, literally, I think it's here to stay.
Yeah, and then that brings up, like, we can go even further down like the rabbit hole of the UBI. Will we eventually just be governed by the tech companies, Tesla, Apple, Amazon, Google, and then etc.? Because if they're the ones that are basically going to pay the government, and then the government pays us, so why would we want to have a third party? Just like with crypto, why we don't want banks, so we have our own banks, like we'd be our own bank. And if you want to have a bank, there's these new crypto banks essentially.
Yeah.
But so why would we want the government taking our taxes when we could just get paid directly from Tesla and Amazon and all them?
Yeah, and from these big companies, it might actually get crazy to the point where those companies where people start to kind of almost attack those countries, because the socioeconomic divide is so bad, where it's like, Jeff Bezos, what is it? I saw a stat where the wealthiest people, like the billionaires, collectively made like a couple trillion or something like that during this like pandemic.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, then people might start hating these big corporations, especially if they get bailed out again. What was it, 2008? Was it Bailout Wall Street? No, it was Walk on Wall Street or something like that. Something like that. And
yeah, I mean, so many companies got bailed out though. And it never. And I'm a capitalist. I'd like to see things go out of business so the new things can come out, and it's better for the customer. It's better for everybody essentially.
Yeah.
But we have fake capitalism where we bail people out. Like these airlines should have went out of business, so then we could have new airline companies come in and they produce a better product, better airplane, better service for the customer.
Yeah, that's honestly how it's supposed to be, but we don't. Yeah, we literally have crony capitalism where these people where I think that's gonna make it backfire. You know what I'm saying? I think people are gonna they're gonna identify crony capitalism with real capitalism, and then say, well, we shouldn't have capitalism. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So as soon as a company fails, they're like, oh my God, that's terrible.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, yeah, well, looks like this is why we need. They're gonna basically use it to. And honestly, it does depend who gets elected. So these next 3 months are very, very, very important for the market, basically for everything, like where we're headed for the next like decade. These next 3 months are like crucial.
Yeah, only time will tell. I know I saw something about Joe Rogan about him having like a 4-hour thing with Biden and Trump. I think that would be so cool. I'm not sure if you know who Joe Rogan is.
Yeah, Rogan on I think he's signed with what he's signed with Spotify. Yeah.
Yeah, Spotify. Yeah, that starts next year. But I feel like he would rip them both like open apart, like everything. He could be so like subjective about both of them, and it would make a great show.
Yeah, I think that's something I want to see, because really, either way, I really do want to see who gets elected, and I think that's ultimately going to dictate how these markets work. You know, how what all of our crypto investments do. I think long term, either way, whoever gets elected, still bullish for the crypto space. But in terms of like, you know, like UBI, in terms of just how the whole world would run, you know, taxes, that's ultimately dependent on who gets elected and whatever parties has the most power. And I think that, well, honestly, I think it's more probable. Actually, I don't even know who's going to win. I have no clue, honestly. I really have no clue.
Yeah, dude, it just seems like, I don't know, like to a certain extent, I feel like behind the scenes they already picked the one. It's already set up to where
Yeah.
we just go vote. It makes it look like you have control, so it makes you feel like you're in control. But then really they just pick whoever it is.
They pick whoever it is. Yeah, I feel like it's like illusion. I saw one thing where it's like if I tell you heads or tails and you say heads, you feel like you picked heads, but I told you the options that you have to choose, right? So
Yeah,
yeah, either way. So it's like I think that they do they do have something similar to that, where they have this idea of who's going to get elected, what's going to happen. Um, but I feel like they want to give the narrative so that people can feel like they're empowered to actually maybe make a change or something, or not make a change.
yeah. I mean, and that's the power of Bitcoin, though. I mean, from all the research I've done, if you read the white paper, it's not an illusion. I mean, there's 21 million. Like, if you own 0.28 Bitcoin, you're a top 1% Bitcoiner.
Yeah.
That's crazy, you know. But yeah, I guess like with the election, we shall just see what goes on. But I think you're right though. No matter what, like I think there's only one thing that's guaranteed: volatility.
Yeah,
And you just don't know
yeah,
which direction.
that's what I'm trying to get people to understand. Like, yo, get ready to get either super happy or gut wrenched, like
Yeah.
down 50% or up 50%, like something crazy. Just I want to get people psychologically grounded for that, and it could be a very good opportunity to maybe say we already got in at the March low. I personally believe the bottom is in. I don't think we're going
Oh,
back.
for crypto.
Yeah, for crypto.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I don't see us. This was a higher low, you know, and
Yeah,
then even this, as of right now, if this is our low right now, it's another higher low.
yeah.
So
I mean, even if we do come, maybe, you know, dump back. I mean, yeah, it will be bad, but it's still another higher low. Even if we do come back to 8,000,
oh
okay,
yeah.
it's still a higher low.
Yeah,
So
talking like a body in a wick like this, like back in March, but down to 8K. Yeah, I can
yeah,
see it happen.
but even still, um, that would mean yeah, that would mean I don't know what it would mean for the traditional markets, because people, I noticed that Bitcoin is weird. Bitcoin is correlated to gold, and it's correlated to the S&P same time. You remember? I don't know if you trade. Yeah, you probably don't. But gold went up. I was trading gold and silver, and gold and silver just took off. And then probably like 2-3 days later, Bitcoin took off. But then when S&P dumps, Bitcoin dumps. So it's like, which one do you want to be?
Well, it's just so early. You know, it's only what it has around a $200 billion market cap. It hasn't even like been able to mature and be its own market cycle. I mean,
It has a
it's such a
$200 billion
baby.
market cap. What? I'm pretty sure there are companies with bigger market caps than that.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you look at Apple, Apple's what, a little over a trillion.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
looking it up
ridiculous.
right now.
And I honestly believe Bitcoin is way, way, way more valuable
Oh
than
yeah,
Apple.
oh definitely. I mean, to be your own bank. Yeah,
I
it
feel
looks
like
like it actually they surpassed 2 trillion if I'm reading this correctly.
that's so true. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I know this like sounds crazy, like when people say $1 million Bitcoin, but those days are to come for sure.
That would require, isn't that like, no, I think that, I actually think, I saw something with 10 million. I don't think that's impossible. I don't think that's impossible.
Yeah, it's definitely in the next 2 decades. It's definitely in like a possible thing to happen.
Yeah, especially if gold, like a lot of people think gold's going to go to like, it's at 2,000-ish right now. A lot of people think gold's going to go to 10,000, 5,000. If that happens, yeah, we're seeing $100,000 Bitcoin.
Oh yeah.
And the argument I hear is who's going to buy Bitcoin at 100,000? The question is like, who's going to hold dollars when Bitcoin is that going up like that? Why would you hold your US dollars at that point?
Yeah, I think that like you brought up a great question. People are asking the wrong questions at that time. People are going to be buying at 100K because that's just how human psychology works. People buy high and sell. I mean, they buy high and sell low.
So low.
But like you said, it's going to come to a point where you're forced to use a different financial policy.
Yeah, especially not even just people in America, like people in other countries that have terrible monetary policy. Terrible.
Yeah. Like
I mean, in India, it's horrible. They queue out. There's literally like a queue where they stand out trying to get money. If they're trying to send money or receive money from overseas, they stand in lines, huge lines. It's hot. You could literally, with their life savings, you could get robbed. It's like
terrible.
You just use crypto at that point.
Yeah.
I think that's what the system's getting ready for.
Oh, definitely. And all you need is a cell phone. You can buy a cheap cell phone for $100. I mean, I know in some countries that's expensive, but if a family would share that, that's actually not that expensive.
Or just get like maybe you have like maybe a little library in a town or something where like a computer or two.
Yeah.
And everyone uses that and they send money on there. It's way better than standing in line, having to pay a fee just to receive money from a family member overseas or send money. It's way more effective.
Yeah, the remittances, what XRP and Ripple are trying to solve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's why I think those stuff like that is bullish. What people don't understand is like, this is why I kind of like when people tell me like, when do you want to take profits? It's like, yeah, I'm a trader, so I'm going to take profits here and then, but I'm still going to be in these assets long term, because what kind of makes me mad is when I hear people say cryptocurrencies are fiat currencies. There's nothing backing them, but it's like you don't understand technology. You don't understand that this is not just like a coin. These are things that are solving problems. Like they're trying to apply. That's why I like VeChain. It's going to be backed by what value it provides to the real world. Like what solution. It's not trying to be a US dollar or something. It's trying to actually change the world almost, provide value to the world.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. VeChain's actually been something I've just started researching. It definitely seems like a great buy at 1.3 pennies.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I feel like a decade from now, supply chain management, I feel like that's just like obvious, like an obviously bullish area to be looking into. Just even if it was like a stock or any sort of stock like that, stuff like that, banking, even blockchain companies are bullish stocks, because like I don't think people understand how fast we're advancing, like in terms of technology. We're advancing so fast. I saw one video where there's a robot, and it was like 2010. It looked so like uncoordinated. Now we have robots that are doing 360 spins, backflips, rolls, tumbles. They can juke. You know what I'm saying? It's like 10 years. So what's going to happen 10 years from now? Like what's going to happen to blockchain 10 years from now and all these other technologies? And this is basically what we're investing in. We're investing in, the software, what this software can provide to the world. We're not trying to buy a fiat current. That's why I don't understand when people say fiat currencies. They derive their value from actually solving their tech. It's like saying Apple has no value or something like that. It's like, no, they're trying to provide something to the world. And I think that's what a lot of cryptocurrencies have. Like XRP has tremendous value, long term, stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess maybe it's hard to grasp the concept of the value that they're providing. I guess maybe the average person can't understand the value of a remittance and exactly. I mean, they probably don't even know what that word means, because I know I didn't know before I started researching Ripple and XRP. Mm-hmm. But and then within the crypto space, there's so much hate with XRP and Bitcoin. Like oh, I thought we were against the banks. And it's like, hey, we can, we got to help them out too. Like, we're not just going to get rid of banks completely. They're going to adapt,
Yeah, they're going to become crypto friendly. They're going to kind of get it's either if they don't, they're just going to get left behind.
Exactly.
And that's the last thing they probably want to happen. And I feel like where this market is heading, the last, cycle was just pure speculation, like throwing money at whatever. We don't know where it's going to go, what it's going to do. But now we have, I ultimately believe Bitcoin is king, but we have assets now that are complementary to Bitcoin and can ultimately help real world problems. And that's why when I see when I hear like Bitcoin maximalist, I'm like, yeah, Bitcoin 10 years ago, or not 10 years ago, like, 6 years ago was a great opportunity. But now there's going to be opportunities outside of trying to be a digital gold. There's going to be opportunities to get into like a Tesla or Uber, but in the crypto space, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Bitcoin will be Bitcoin, but now we have opportunities to get into these real world applicable projects.
Yeah, it's like you said with VeChain, the whole supply chain. You got Chainlink with oracles. I mean, being able to know somebody's age without seeing their birth date, without exposing their birth date, that's major.
Yeah.
Like I work in healthcare, and when it comes down to somebody's blood type with their antibodies and all that, fun stuff,
Yeah.
there's such an issue with HIPAA, and you have to call hospitals, say, hey, did you have this patient before? It's the first time we had them, and we're having like an antibody screen, and we're trying to figure out exactly what it is. The communication is terrible because of HIPAA. But if you utilize the blockchain, something like an Oracle, to where you could see this without exposing sensitive data, I mean, that solves it right there.
Yeah, and I don't think people, and then this goes back to where I'd hear someone say, well, Chainlink is just, I don't think people really can grasp just the value and how revolutionary the technology is going to be. They really can't. Like, yeah, of course we're trying to make money. Of course we're trying to, flip whatever. But the fundamental value of this tech, people are speculating on it right now. That's why it's going crazy. But it's going to get to a point where you don't have to speculate. You're going to see it being used. You're going to see it like actually deriving its value. And that's when that's when you want to be, okay, let me take some profits now. Now you see Chainlink being used globally. Now that I see VeChain in stores, that's when, okay, let me take my profit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the crypto back loan,
Yeah. Something like that. Or you see it now, you see insurance companies using cryptocurrency. That's when I should be selling. That's when you need to be selling.
Yeah, because like right now we're speculators, we're innovators, we're whatever aiders. And it's like you said, when it's actually being used in the real world, that's when you got to dump some.
Yeah, take your profit, because at that point it's like it may take like 5 years. I mean, think about, right, it's 2020. Think about 2010. Like Uber didn't exist, Snapchat didn't exist. Like all these big things weren't even like, they were probably just starting. And now they're so, and now we're not even comparing Uber to comparing Uber to taxi companies. The blockchain is like 1,000x more revolutionary than that. 1,000x, because that's so many different applications. Like Chainlink with oracles, and you got XRP with remittance, then you have VeChain with supply chains, then you have literally so much potential.
Yeah, it's going back to the whole idea that it's hard to explain to the average person the value that it's giving. And something I kind of came to like fruition, that it comes down to where people just don't understand the US dollar. They don't understand their current monetary system.
Mm-hmm.
And understanding that is, I think, crucial to understanding why Bitcoin is valuable and why. And then once you can learn Bitcoin, that's when you can get into VeChain, XRP. You're going to understand how they have value to provide as well.
Yeah, because when you don't understand how Bitcoin, it all really goes back to the monetary part. Because if you don't understand that, then you won't think Bitcoin has any value. And then if you don't think Bitcoin has any value, you'll assume that every other cryptocurrency is just a waste. And it's like, no, not even close to. I don't even think it's like my opinion. I just think like it truly is a fact that these things do have extreme value, and they will. I think it's just a matter of time. Literally, I think it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, and it's just like you said, maybe in 5 years, like I know I'm in it the long term. If it takes 5 years, it takes 5 years. Um, that's cool with me. But I mean, obviously, we'd all like it to happen faster. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, we all want Bitcoin to be at 50,000 next year. Which, I mean, if it doesn't happen, it's like whatever. And I think in due time it'll play out for sure.
Oh, definitely. I
Yeah.
know those calls of hitting, like if you go back to, I don't know if I still have that up, the stock to flow. What's that? April 2021. So May or April 2021, we should be at around 90 to 100K, according to the stock to flow.
Yeah.
Um, if you believe that, and if you look at the history, it took a couple months later for it to actually break, and it seems like it's taking longer. So maybe it'll end up being, I mean, personally, I'm thinking the fourth quarter of 2021, first quarter of 2022 to hit around 100K. Just a
Yeah.
rough, guess out there. But
That's what I'm thinking too. I think that could happen. Then we're probably gonna have a violent correction. And then probably more upside. I think what kind of gets me confused is people, obviously some people have stuff like, expenses and stuff, but long term I feel like the best people are going to be the people who just sat. You don't want to sit all the way, but knew took profits along the way, but just kind of had the long term picture in mind, if that makes sense.
oh yeah, I mean, I think especially if you're not a trader, if you don't have experience with that, I think just hodling and dollar cost averaging is your best bet
It's your best bet
because like you have a job, you have a life, you can't be
on the
learning
chart.
all this new stuff on top of that. It's just not like reasonable. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah,
So
it's not very not very effective either because you're going to be stressing on the chart and
yeah, and if you're stressing and being super emotional, you're going to lose money. It's just how it
I
works.
feel like honestly that's much better. I feel like I'd rather be like screw it. I'm gonna just dollar cost average, forget about it. 'Cause sometimes I want to just forget about it and wake up 5 years from now and
Yeah,
see what everything's at.
I mean, if you check out, they have great multi-sig wallets out there, so to where you're 100% protected. So that's
That's,
something just to like look out for.
yeah, you could literally do that, forget about it, come back, and then it wouldn't. I think what would make it appealing for people to sell is because they want to take profit, and then I feel like everyone does want to make money, but if you see like Bitcoin and stuff as money, you won't want to sell it. I literally know some people, they're probably like millionaires though, but they're just like, yeah, I'm not taking profit at all. I'm like, what? They're literally just like, they say, screw it. I'm not going to buy stocks. I don't want to hold dollars. So it's like, I'm just not going to take profit at all. I'm just going to pay my bills and stuff. But other than that, I'm just let my stuff run. Like we want
Like
profit.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're taking loans backed against their like investments.
Mm-hmm. That would be extremely, extremely smart. I
Yeah,
didn't really,
because I've heard of people doing that with like Coca-Cola stocks and like Apple, like when they got in back in like 20 years ago, and they held it for like 2 decades.
yeah. I think that's extremely smart to do, especially if you already as long as you can risk manage in all your stuff, I think that's perfectly fine.
Yet, it's all that it's like I have on my channel like like it's all about the wild crypto journey because it's been wild the entire time I've been in here. And I don't know about you, but I think it's gonna, like you said, the volatility in the next few months. I think it's gonna be wild.
Christmas gonna be. I remember I told my friend. I tried to tell my friend to get in the V chain at like 0.004, and I was like, hey, by Christmas, man, it's gonna be crazy, and it already went crazy. So I said by Christmas now, it's really gonna be crazy. Like we're either gonna have extreme like I just hope people are ready. I really do. You need to be ready for it to go up, and you need to be ready for it to go down.
I mean, buying at point 0.4, but like just under half a penny. I mean, bro, that was a great buy. Because look at it today. I mean, it popped up to what 2.3 cents, and now we're back down at 1.3 pennies.
Yeah, like 1.3 pennies, and it's like even there, it's like, all right, yeah, okay, yeah, it pulled back. You want to take your profit and stuff like that. The whole market pulled back. Yeah, Bitcoin's actually pulling back, and I said 10.6K. But even still, it's like, okay, what's going to happen? All right, we have 3 months. That was 3 months ago. I think it was. That was like kind of May-ish, May, June. So about 3 months ago. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So 3 months from now, up another 200%, or we're going to go right back down. I don't think there's going to be any, markets are flat. No. I really do think we're going to see some extreme volatility. It could be some good trade setups, maybe if you're playing with a trade, but I want to see if they're going to price in maybe a Trump re-election, ahead of time, and then the markets will start to rally or something. We'll really see. It's going to be so, bro. It's going to be so interesting to be alive during this time.
Definitely.
If you're aware of what's going on. If you're not aware, and you might kind of get, the bad side of the events that might take place if you're not trying to think ahead.
Yeah, and it's so hard to get people into crypto because like it's such. I mean, the power it gives you, like I'm like sovereignty, basically just being taking responsibility for all your actions and everything. It's so hard to actually get someone into like wanting to be their own bank, wanting to, just like be in charge essentially.
Yeah, and I feel like at that point, yeah, like we said earlier, it might get to a point where the people who aren't, they're gonna be there. Those are the people who maybe if you didn't, buy gold and silver, buy crypto, you might be forced to. You might be, jumping in because banks are insolvent. We have another bank. Do you know Robert Kiyosaki?
Yeah.
Like for that, yeah, he thinks we're gonna have another banking crisis, and he called Lehman Brothers in 2008. So I'm listening to him. Whatever he says, hey, I'm listening to that.
He's an insider. He's with the big boys. He knows what's going on. So
yeah, he knows, and he's buying Bitcoin. He's buying gold. So hey,
yeah, he only says to buy Bitcoin because of millennials.
Yeah, and he wants to get the, but he's very smart at it. And people kind of hate on him a little bit, but his reasoning to buying Bitcoin, gold, and silver is the same. It's basically all the same reasoning that we clearly see there's a problem with how the system is being ran right now, and it's with the coronavirus. It's a health crisis right now, but even without the coronavirus, we were headed towards a financial crisis. Now financial crisis is about 10 times worse than what it would be. And a lot of people still aren't really necessarily preparing for that. They don't understand how that's going to affect them. They don't think they can really do anything. And ultimately, those are going to be people who are going to get hit the worst, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's sad though. It's sad because it seems like the lower economical, like what's that term? Like the lower economical class area is the one that's it's definitely going to hit the worst. And yeah, it sucks.
Yeah,
it seems like the middle class is slowly dividing. You're either falling to the rich or you're falling down to the poor.
Yeah, that's who I think. So I heard a quote where it was someone said the middle class is disappearing, and it's not a coincidence.
Yeah.
It's not by accident, and it is true because, especially with inflation, it's wealth transfer, basically. The wealth transfer that we're about to experience in precious metals and cryptocurrencies, I personally believe, is going to be the greatest wealth transfer of all time. You're going to hear, I think the 2017 where people said, I turned $1,000 into $100,000. I think that's going to be like normal in this space. It may take time. I don't think it'll be like, super fast, but I believe that the wealth transfer in terms of gold, precious metals, I think there's going to be a shift, especially with inflation. People are going to be losing money or you're either going to be making money. So say, for example, the stock market is up. Like say everything's going crazy, but the stock market year to date, a year from now, is going to be up 50%. Bitcoin is going to be up 500%. So if you kept your money in the bank, you probably lost 50% of your purchasing power, as opposed to if you kept it in Bitcoin, you'd be up 500%. And that's what I think the power of cryptocurrencies and precious metals are.
Yeah, and that's where it's the lack of understanding for the average person, to where they don't understand that saving money is losing money. Like Robert Kiyosaki always says, you're a loser if you save money. Yeah. The only money I personally have saved is an emergency fund, because it needs to be liquid. You got to have a little bit there for an emergency, but only 3 to 6 months. Like there's no point of having more, because you're just losing. You're already losing whatever's in the emergency fund, but that's just a safety net to make you sleep at night.
But other than that, what the real safety net is, making sure you're prepared for the systemic risk that's in the banking system, in the financial system, making sure that that's buying Bitcoin is your safety net in an event that we do have another financial crisis, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, I think like allocating some of your wealth into Bitcoin, into gold, into like different like asset classes will definitely help you
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
For sure.
I know.
Hopefully, yeah, you were saying?
So I saw this, like it was like some article on Facebook about how like back in the day when, so the coins in the United States used to have real silver and copper. Then in the 60s slash early 70s, somewhere in that time frame, they switched to like zinc and cheaper metals.
Mm-hmm.
So people hoarded the real metal coins. So they spent the like the new ones that were like fake essentially, and
Mm-hmm.
held the copper and silver. That's basically what we're doing right now. We're spending the fake worthless dollars with fiat, and we're hodling the Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
It's why, yeah, it's why
Yeah,
nobody wants to spend their Bitcoin, because it's essentially the real silver and gold, like comparing it back then.
of the digit. That's why people can't comprehend it. It's I don't want to compare it to gold because it's more volatile, but it's the gold essentially of the digital world. And people don't understand we're in we're it goes back to technology, and a lot of people aren't tech minded. So we're advancing so fast that Bitcoin is think about the value of Bitcoin 2 decades or decades from now. That's why that $1 million, $2 million Bitcoin is realistic, because the value of the blockchain, Internet of Things, um, all of these things is going to be so valuable because this whole system, Oracle's Chainlink. 10 years from now, do you know how valuable an Oracle could be? And it's even better than just traditional um, gold and silver. Way, way, way more valuable, in my opinion, because we're going to be so technologically advanced. You're going to need surveillance. You're going to have cloud. Everything's going to be online. School is probably going to be more online. We have a virus. So it's like with that, not only is it a way to get out of the system and preserve your purchasing power, because I saw something in like Rome, they started to remove, I think it was the gold or silver in their coins, and eventually got to the point where their coins were useless. And the soldiers were asking for, hey, we're going to fight for you, but we don't want your coins. We want gold. And we might get to the point where it's like, hey, I don't want US dollars. I just want Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is not only a digital store of value, but it's way better than having the US dollar, because that lost value.
Yeah, it goes back to what we said earlier. People are going to be forced into this new monetary system if they like it or not. And unfortunately, I think those people are going to take the brunt end of it. It's not going to be good for them.
Yeah, I'm trying to tell people. I got some people to understand, kind of wake up, but there's some people that don't. I think it'll be too late, and they'll miss. I don't want to be like, oh, hey, yeah, I made a lot of money. No, I want to, like, I'm trying to help you. Like, you understand? Like, I'm trying to make sure that you don't, because I would feel bad if, like, say we're right, and all cryptos take off, and like, I'm gonna feel bad for the people that could have easily prevented whatever situation they're gonna be in at that time.
Well, because it seems like if you're holding fiat, you're going to be very poor. It's just not going to work out.
Yeah, it's just not gonna work out long term. It's like you're not gonna be able to outperform the rate of inflation. Groceries are gonna go up. All of that's going to go up, and your purchasing power is going to be going down. It's going to be a terrible scenario.
Yeah.
And all the debt that we have in the system, it could just either. That's what I said. What's interesting about that is because it's either that's going to either pop all the debt bubbles, like the student loan bubble, the car loan bubble, the housing bubble, all these bubbles, foreign countries borrowing. It's either going to pop or they're going to hyperinflate it away. And you don't want to see it pop. No one wants that. Everything is going to be bad. So I think the lesser of two evils is to hyperinflate it away. And in that scenario, I don't think a lot of people are ready for either one, either two of those scenarios.
No, they're definitely not having their emergency fund or their, the asset class that could back them up. That's why Paul Tudor Jones, Jim Cramer, just tossing 1% of their net worth as a hedge. I mean, that's such a small percentage.
Yeah, such a small percent, but it's that's a tiny percent. I'm thinking about from my perspective, that's like chump change, but to them, that's like somebody's entire net worth.
Yeah. Yeah. I can relate. 1% for me would be like nothing.
Yeah, it's like
So,
yeah, their 1% is probably more money than I'll probably ever make ever.
I think when I just Googled Jim Cramer, I think he has around $100 million net worth. And then Paul Tudor Jones is billions. So,
Yeah,
I
billion.
mean, so you're talking Jim Cramer, $1 million in Bitcoin, and then Paul Tudor Jones probably 10
100.
to 100 million, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, and it seems like nothing, but it might get to the see what's interesting about this is if they're right, let's say they're right and they do start making money, um, it won't be they basically kind of say it's like a speculative bet, but it won't be speculative. When they're right, it won't be speculative anymore because the bet so it's basically the better Bitcoin does, the less speculative it gets and the more trusted it gets, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So when it gets to that point, well, people will be like, okay, the dollar's losing value. So it's like, all right, maybe an institution says, okay, let's go into Bitcoin. Let's go into, or maybe a country says, you know what, let's mine Bitcoin. Since we can't mine gold and we're just a small country says, okay, let's focus on mining Bitcoin. Let's get that as our maybe reserve currency or something like that.
Yeah.
I think we could see a lot of that happening.
Well, man, we've been going for about an hour and a half. I don't want to take too much of your time. So let's just wrap this up. What do you think? Like, what do you see Bitcoin at the end of the year? What's your favorite alts? What do you think they're going to be at? December, January timeframe.
Bitcoin by the end of the year, I definitely think Bitcoin could be either at 14 to 20,000 by the end of the year. Hopefully, right? That's if everything goes that's if no crazy thing happens. So I think Bitcoin can hit 14 to 15K. I know I said 14 to 50, 14 to 20K. Favorite altcoins I'm looking out is for, number one, VeChain. I'm looking at one altcoin called Sharing. It's like a hidden gem. And ultimately I'm looking at Cardano. So the end of the year, I believe that those are going to be, if Bitcoin goes to where I think it should, I think that should be, those coins should be very good. So
Yeah.
14 to 20K by the end of the year, hopefully.
And the hidden gem, which one? What was that again?
Sharing. It's like kind of with COVID passports and stuff like that.
Oh
It
wow.
went up crazy. I saw it at like 0.008 and it went up to like 4 or 5 cents.
I'm gonna have to check that out. Since I just wrote it down. But
Yeah.
cool. It sounds cool, man. Well, I want to thank you for your time. It was cool doing this crypto chat. We should definitely do this again.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Might
See
start
what
at
happens in the next few months. Stay in touch, my friend.
Yeah, yes, sir. I'll probably hit you up and we can just post it and keep other people updated too.
Oh yeah, definitely. Sounds good, my man.
All right, bro. All right, bro.
Take it easy.
Take it easy, man.